was there, he had said that he had been on a 6-year mission trip to Russia. And while he was in Russia, he was saying that while he was in Russia, just all the great things that were happening on his mission. But one of the guys said, is there anything that when you come back now that's kind of standing out to you? And immediately, without batting an eye, the guy says, storage facilities. And everybody stopped talking and said, storage facilities? That's what's different. He goes, yeah. He goes, I can't believe how many storage facilities that there are from when I left the airport to the time I went back to my parents' house. And I said, you know what? That's such an unusual thing to talk about. And again, we shifted the schedule. We shifted the discussion in different directions. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to look up exactly how many storage facilities that there are in the United States. So I looked it up. So officially, there are 58,000 storage facilities in the United States. Now, that's not just a little compartment. It's like you got this one section, so there's one. And, no. This is facilities. And within those facilities, there's probably, 100 or so in those individual facilities. But it was quite amazing. There were 58,000 facilities in America. And so I'm, doing the stuff that I do and the curiosity that I do, I said, well, what would that be equivalent to? So that would be equivalent to McDonald's, Starbucks, Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and 7-Eleven combined. And there's a Starbucks on every single corner, right? And we know there's a McDonald's on every single corner. We know that, in 7-Eleven. So, in comparison, I'm like, well, gosh, this is kind of a weird number. I'm going to see what it is in Europe. Europe's larger than the United States. It's probably close. Won't make me feel. No. Over there, in Europe, they have 2,400 total. 2,400 total storage facilities. So, if we were to have an Olympic event called hoarding here in the United States, we would be eligible for the bronze, gold, and silver medal. We are involved in a culture that pursues just more and more and more stuff. And the Bible has a name for a group of people who pursue and accumulate more and more stuff, more wealth, more luxury. And that word is greed. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been in this series called 7, which is looking at the 7 deadly sins. And if you don't remember what they are, it's pride, envy, gluttony, lust, hunger, greed, and sloth. And then we've been trying to show you their biblical counterparts of their biblical virtues, which are humility, kindness, moderation, chastity, patience, charity, and diligence. And today we're going to focus in on greed. But I want you to know something. Greed is the hardest one of the sins to wrap your head around. It's really, really hard to wrap your head around. And most of you are saying right now, oh great, where's Pastor John? Man, really? This guy's going to stand in front of me today and he's going to talk to me about greed? But you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, I'm not greedy, Ron. What are you talking about? That's for people that have a lot of money. That's for people that have the gold bars in the bank and the people that have the mattresses stuffed with money. Those kinds of people. But I'm hoping before you leave today, and we listen to this little series of words from Jesus, that I want you to know it has nothing to do with what you have and has everything to do with what's in your heart. And so that's what we're going to focus on. That's where we're going today. So some people say, I'm not really greedy. I'm more of a saver. I'm just cautious with my money. And others might say that, hey, listen, no, I was raised poor, okay, and I know the value of the dollar. And so I got to get as many of those dollars as I can, and I have to have my stuff so that I'm satisfied with where I want to be in this world. And it's kind of ironic. Mick Jagger, who is a rock and roll star, in his mid-20s wrote a song called I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And he had more money than you could count, and he had cars, and he had women on right arm, left toe, right toe. He had women everywhere that way, and homes and houses galore. But he writes a song that says, I can't get no satisfaction. And we are not satisfied in this world with what we have. So, what does satisfy you? What fills you up? What satisfies you? Well, according to the biblical research that I've spent doing for the last couple of weeks, when John reminded me that I had to do this talk on grief, I've come down to just this one line. This is what I like to call the drop the mic line. You use this line, and this is kind of everything about it. Giving your life away in love satisfies you. Giving your life away in love satisfies you. You are always giving. You know, God is always giving. God so loved the world that He gave. Right? We're always giving. Jesus is always giving. And we're called to be the same. You know, in our generosity, that's where we find life. You know, John Wesley, who was a theologian for the whole Methodist movement. You might have some Methodists here in the audience. And the whole Methodist movement, over 200 years ago, had three concepts that he really wanted to get across to not only his congregation, but also to the pastors that he was training. And his comments were this: make all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. Make all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. Work hard, make money, make all the money you can, and save all the money you can, and make it grow. And then when you're all done with all of that, when you're done making it and saving it, then he wants you to give it away to someone else. No. What? What? What are you talking about? That is absolutely crazy. And it's a difficult concept to wrap your head around. But we have to understand what it means to control our desires. Desires can get out of hand. And I think desires, you know, the things that you want, are a lot like children. If they're not disciplined, they'll run your life. And eventually, not only will they run your life, but they'll end up ruling it too. And I think it's true. Because if you've been around a 3-year-old who's not disciplined, you wait till they get 13. Oh boy. There's some issues there. Our desires take over us. We get this idea that we got to have more jewelry, we got to have more boats, we have to have more golf clubs, we have to have more clothes, we have to have more wealth, we have to have more things, more. And our desires are so strong that we're willing to give anything, absolutely anything, so that we can have more. I brought a treat for you. Take a look at this video.
Elsa, don't move.
It's ours, yours and mine.
Elsa, don't cross the steel. A line warned us not to take the great Indiana.
I mean, who knew that 007 was Indiana Jones's dad? I didn't know that. But anyway, we will do anything, sacrifice our lives to grieve. But I'm going to go over a passage today that basically teaches us how to let it go. And this is going to be close I hope that you won't be limping out of here by all the 2x4s smacking on your toes this morning. Because there's a lot of things in this that I think that hits home. It hit home for me. So I can only imagine it's going to hit home for you. So if you've got your Bibles, please open to Luke chapter 12, 13 to 34. It's going to appear on the screen. If you've got the app, there is an app that we have. If you go to sapcd.org and you click on the message notes, they'll pop up there. But I'm not going through the entire thing and like reading it all at once. I'm going to read a little bit and we're going to talk about it a little bit. So before I read this, can I just say something like right up front? Money in church is weird. It's just strange. Anytime you get talking about money, anger gets up and people move to the front of their seat and it's like, hey man, that's mine, I don't know. And giving to the church, how uncomfortable that is at times for people. It's just really, really strange and really, really weird. It's like we're breaching some kind of privacy, breaching some kind of security. People say to themselves, I find security in my identity. My identity, you start messing with my identity when it comes to giving. I got to say something. They get very, very offended about giving. I'm just saying to you out front, it's weird. But you know what's really funny, which is completely strange and ironic? If Pastor John was standing up here, or Pastor Barry Dowdy, or myself, or anybody else who's sharing with you, you realize that if we talked about money as much as Jesus talked about money in the Bible, none of you would show up. And I really do mean that. There would be no one here. Because Jesus talked about money more than heaven and hell combined. He talked about money more than praying, 4 times more than praying. I mean, Jesus was in the Bible he's talking about pray continuously. And by the way, let's go back to that situation about money. Let's talk about money. And every single time he gets somewhere, he says, by the way, he talks about money. He talks about it continuously in the Bible. Because he knows that in our hearts, greed lives. And he knows that. And he's constantly fighting through his scriptures, trying to get you to understand that greed exists because of a possessive nature that you have for not giving. I want to set up the passage a little bit this morning before we get into it. First of all, at the beginning of Luke 12, Jesus is out talking to thousands of people. And he's speaking to everyone. And so he starts talking to them about the leaven of the Pharisees. And he continues to talk about no fear. Watch out for fear. The fear, do not be afraid of what you're about to hear. And then he reminds people that Christ is first and men are second. And you need to remember that. And then this one little guy raises his hand in the crowd. And Jesus says, yes. Where we pick up in 13, he says, someone in the crowd said to him, and we're talking about Jesus, of course, Teacher, tell my brother to divide my inheritance with me. Let me stop there for a second and kind of communicate, get you kind of understand that at that time it was customary for the brothers to take care of the inheritance. It was exclusively went to the brothers. If you had a sister or a daughter that was marrying into another family, that the brother is the one that decided how much you got. So apparently in this story, someone's father had died, and the older brother was not handling the finances correctly. And so the younger brother wasn't happy. So he asked, as we heard already from Jesus. So Jesus replies in verse 14, Man, who appointed me a judge and an arbiter between you? Then he said to them, Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. And Jesus says that we have to be on guard. We have to be careful. We have to be alert because greed is out there and it's going after our hearts. But I want you to know that greed is a difficult thing to see. It really is. I can't look at you and say, hey, you're greedy. Hey, you're greedy. You're greedy. It's not something that you can see. So it's more than one thing that Jesus would like us to. And it's funny because he writes in there and he says, Jesus says, be careful of all kinds of greed. In my mind, is there more than one? Is there more than one? But obviously there is. There is more than one. And he's going to talk to us here in the rest of verse 15. And here it is. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Life does not consist in abundance of possessions. And he told them this little parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, what shall I do I have no place to store up all my crop? And then he said, this is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and I'll build bigger ones. And there will store up my whole surplus. And I say to myself, I have plenty of grain laid up for many years. I'll take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry. You know, when we hear that story, if we stopped right there, they would say, good for you! Way to go! Got a good harvest. Nice job. Take those things, you know? Get up there. It was great. We're happy for this guy. He's got a good abundance. He's got it going on. He's got things going on. Just sit back. Relax. You're good. It's kind of like the retirement situation, right? You did your work. You got your stuff done. You saved your whole life. And now you sit back and you relax. Right? But Jesus said, the story takes a totally different direction. And here's what he said. In 20. But God said to him, you fool. He says, you fool. This very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich for God. You know what's interesting? This is the only time in the Bible, and I'll challenge you to look. This is the only time in the Bible that God calls someone a fool. I'm telling you. This is the only time in the Bible that God calls someone a fool. And we sit here and we're thinking to ourselves, oh, this guy's great. American dream. Exactly what I'm looking for, American dream. But when in fact, Jesus calls this a nightmare, according to God. If you live your entire life and you're collecting things like this guy's pursuing life, then Jesus and God would say you're a fool. Which brings us to our very first key point. The source of greed is assumption, consumption. The source of greed is assumption, consumption. Let me explain to you what that means. It assumes that everything I earn is mine to consume. It assumes that everything that I earn, everything that I save, everything that I have is mine to consume. And when I was writing this out, I was thinking to myself, assumption, consumption, what's your function? Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Everything I earn is mine to consume. Jesus would say a person who looks at everything that they've made this week, or a person who looks at everything they've made last week, or looks at all the stuff they own, is a fool. He says it. He says it right there in those words. You're saying, all right, man, come on, Ron. Hold on. Where's Pastor John? Pastor John, are you back there? Get out of here. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But no, really, I work hard, Ron. I work hard for my things. I punch my clock. I do everything I'm supposed to do. It's my money. I made it. I earned it. So I need to spend it. And God would say, that man is a fool. And he's greedy. Greed, Jesus says, has nothing to do with what you have. Maybe you know the story. You've heard the story of the rich young ruler. This guy follows Jesus around for a long time. He just keeps following around. And next he works up enough of the urge to get down on both knees and says, Jesus, what do I need to do to enter the kingdom with you when I die? And Jesus says, sell everything you have and then come and follow me and be a disciple. And the guy says, what? But I'm a rich guy. He said, take all your things, sell everything, give it to the poor, and come and follow me. He was freaking out. He wouldn't do it. They said his head was downrodden and he walked away. That's where we get the Matthew 19:24 from. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than it is for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God. You know, you have to let go of those things of this earth so that you can grab a hold of those things in heaven. And in my mind and in my mindset, as I even told you in the back, at the very beginning of the thing, it's a heart problem. It's a heart issue. It has everything to do with your heart. Did you know that you are only stewards of your stuff? Did you know that? Did you know that you really don't own anything? Did you know that? What are you talking about? Why are you freaking me out here? What do you mean I don't own anything? You're only leasing the stuff you have. You're leasing it. You know, here in America, we kind of teaches us, you know, when we're playing games, this game of Monopoly. It's like where you get the wealth and you get the property and you go around the board a few times and you collect your $200 and you try to stay out of jail. You know, those kinds of things. You know, that's kind of like the American way. But I'm telling you that life is more like Uno. Does anybody play Uno anymore? You know what that game is? That's where a game where you actually you hand out cards to everybody, and the object of the game is to get rid of your card. And when you get rid of your card, you win. And Jesus would say to you and to me that life is more like Uno and less like Monopoly. You know, so back to the scriptures. We're in number 22. We're at 22 right now. Then Jesus said to his disciples, I have to stop you again, because I want you to get the picture of this. Jesus has just spoke to thousands of people that are there. And all of a sudden he stops, and on this part he looks at his brother. And he turns his attention to his brothers and he says, "Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you eat, or about your body, or what you wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storerooms or barns, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than birds? Who of you, by worrying, can add one single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon, in his splendor, was dressed like one of these. If that is how God's clothes the grass of the fields, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." What Jesus is talking about in that whole part to his brothers and the other people who are hearing it is the assumption consumption. And the word therefore, Carol White taught me a long time ago that any time that you find the word therefore in the Bible, find out what it's there for. Worry and greed. You know, Jesus says that I want to invite you to a place that you can experience my kingdom first and free from financial worry. You know what's at the top of everybody's worry list? It's kind of a gimme. It's money, right? Will I have enough money to pay for food? Will I have enough money to pay the light bill, the electric bill, the phone bill, the mortgage, my college tuition, gas in my car? We're obsessed with worry that I might not have enough. But Jesus wants to bring you to a kingdom that is free from worry. Which brings us to our second little point today. The side effect of greed is anxiety. We are basically financially anxious because of our desires. Each of us, right now, the way that we're living right up to what we consider our money line. We say, okay, well, we're going to get this much money, so, okay, well, we can get this stuff, and we can get this stuff, and we can do this, and we can do this. And we're right up there. So if you end up with a credit card, you basically might even bounce past what you can afford. But we're used to doing that. And of course, that gives anxiety when you do that, when you're not sure it's going to happen. So if we learn to seek the kingdom first, then we live without anxiety. And one of the ways to reduce anxiety is to prioritize your giving. You know, it's kind of funny. Anytime that Pastor John is talking, he's always talking about the baby. And anytime I'm ever talking, I'm talking about my grandmother. So I have another grandmother story for you. My grandmother used to live in Bel Air, and my mother would take us down there, and we would she actually had those old baby food jars with the glass, a baby food jar and a metal top. Imagine that around kids, right? Yeah, I made it. But anyway, and she cut a slice in the top, and she had three little baby bottles. One of the baby bottles, she wrote on the outside, said tithe, with tape, and she wrote on it. And the second one said savings, and the third one said you. So I would work around at her house, and I would do things at her house, and she would give me money. Normally it was change. She'd give me 3 quarters, 2 dimes, and a nickel. So she would say, okay, now where does that one go? And I put a dime in. Okay, where does that one go? That one goes in savings. Okay, where's the 85 cents go? And it goes in you. And then when I accumulated some money after a while, she would say, come on, let's go to the commissary over at McDill Air Force Base, and we'll get something with the money that we made for you. And then with the savings, she took the money from the savings and opened up a little savings account for me. And then on Sunday, she was a Sunday school teacher at Christ Presbyterian Church in Largo. And she would actually take me there with the money that I had from the tithe baby food jar, and I would put it in the plate when I went by. And that happened for years when I was a kid. Just managing your money. And of course, you may come across, oh, that's like kind of corny. Well, no. What it did is it taught me how to manage what I was making, but also understand that and be able to separate from those things that don't belong to me. Those things that don't belong to me. You know, Dave Ramsey is well known for doing some money management courses. And we have a course here, a Dave Ramsey course here. If anyone's interested, it's practical ways to manage money, to get you less anxiety and less financial worry, and help you with how to give to the church and to other mission avenues. But you need to prioritize your giving. That's less anxious. Let's get back to the last part of the scripture here. Number 32. Here we are. Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses, or in this case money, for yourself that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near or moth destroys. For here your treasure is, for where your treasure is, there your heart is also. When we open our hearts to giving, things happen. Listen to this, Philippians 4:19. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Jesus Christ. Sometimes something happens when you use your heart to give and give. There's just something that happens. Your heart begins to shift. Your heart begins to change. You know, Bruce Springsteen says that everybody's got a hungry heart. Everybody's got a hungry heart. And I will tell you that St. Augustine also said, you have made us, O Lord, for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they find our rest in you. When your heart shows up, greed fades away. And our last point, the solution to greed is stored up in treasures in heaven. Give generously. For those who are generous find life. Listen to this in Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. With this measure you use, it will be measured to you. Give it, and it will be given. You know, I have to say something to you. I'm not sure that anybody, maybe they haven't, has told you, but God gives you 90% of what you have to live on. 90%. And He gives that. He wants the rest given to the kingdom of Christ. Rick Warren, the lead pastor in Saddleback Church out in California, does something called reverse tithing. He gives 90% to the church, and he lives on 10%. Now, in all fairness, he is blessed with book deals and video deals and those kinds of things that he makes other, but he does what he said he's going to do. He's going to give 90% to the church and live on 10. You know, I kind of love it when I get having discussions with people, and I told you it was kind of weird. When I have discussions with people about money, they said, you know, I just don't believe in 10% tithing. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of things in the Bible that they're still not doing, and that's one of them right there, 10% tithe. Or they may say that I can't afford it. I can't afford to give the tithe in the church. And my question to them is, how would you know if you've never tried? How do you know? How do you know that you can't afford it if you've never tried? People may say things like, you know, I get what I can, or what I can afford. But listen to this in Mark 12, 41 to 44. Jesus sat down opposite this place where the offering had been put and watched the crowd putting the money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came in and put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, I truly tell you, this poor widow was put more into the treasure than all of the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on. That lady was all in. She said, no, not just 10%, 100%. And she gave it all in. And Jesus recognized it. She understood what it means to be right with the kingdom and to give to his causes. You know, Pastor John did a series a while back called Generosity. It was a couple of years ago, and he had a pastor that he had. His name was Pastor Frank Harrington. And he had a saying that John had mentioned. Don't give until it hurts. Give until it feels good. And Jesus said that's our mission here. Don't give until it hurts. Give until it feels good. And if you don't get anything else today, I know you're thinking about what you got to do after church and where you're going to meet the Baptists for lunch and, you know, those kinds of things. But I will say to you, there's one thing I want you to remember about this. Giving is the antidote to greed. Giving is the antidote to greed. What you give is given back to you 100-fold. Imagine you have a piece of paper and you try to fold that paper over and over and over again 100 times. Jesus is saying to you, what you give for the mission, for this mission, is going to be given back to you 100-fold in heaven. And so some people are saying, well, you know, hey, Ron, I don't care what you say. You can say all you want to. But I have to say I'm leaving everything to my kids. And I would say to you, after doing the junk in the trunk event last week, that many of your kids were here selling your stuff. And what I mean by that is that when you're gone and you're not here anymore, and you're finished with your life, and your kids are responsible for your things, they're just going to give them away. So my thing saying to you right now, let me encourage you to get into some of those closets, to get in that garage, to get up in the attic, and you get rid of some of those things now so it does good in God's kingdom. You know, I mentioned to you before that I went to my grandmother's house, and what she did with us on Saturday when we got there, she always took us to Bel Air Beach. And we went out to Bel Air Beach, and I used to like to make sandcastles right on the edge of the water. You know, if you build a sandcastle too far away from the water, you can't get the bucket and get back to make it nice and hard and nice and compact. So you always move the sandcastle closer to the water. So I made this great, elaborate kind of sandcastle with a big moat all the way around it. I'm grabbing seaweed like they're monsters and, and the moat and all that kind of fun stuff. And so I had asked my grandmother, I said, and then we had to leave. As you always do, you have to leave the beach. So we went the next day. On Sunday, we went to church, and I begged her so bad, Mimi, can I please go back? Can I please go back to the beach? And she said, okay, we'll go back. So we went back on a Sunday, and my sandcastle wasn't there. It had gone. I can only imagine, I guess, the tide came up and wiped it all out, and there was no remnants of it at all. It was completely gone. So you in your life, you have been building your own sandcastle here. You've been creating your own sandcastle. You've created your moat. You have your seaweed. You have your snakes and monsters. You've built everything that you can. And you built it. You built it in your home. You built everything you have. And I want you to know that, that stuff doesn't last here today and gone tomorrow. So I would say to you in this life, you're either one of two things. You're either a castle king, the king of your castle. You're either a castle king, or you're living in the kingdom of God and toward giving. The remedy to greed is giving, because true satisfaction comes in love offering toward God's kingdom. Let us pray. Father, we need your help. We live in one of the most materialistic countries in the world. And every single day I feel the tension and anxiety of just more stuff. I feel like the money, that could possibly fix my life, to make me a better person, but, you've taught us. You've taught us that it's just not true. God, I need you. I need you to help me not to be wasteful in my life by building sandcastle after sandcastle after sandcastle, but direct me to your kingdom. Give me faith to be strong financially, to provide for those things that you want me to provide for. Control my efforts about me being worried about things. Am I going to have a job next year? Is my car going to make it? Do I need to get a new one? Is my house, maintain my house? Lord, is my 401k going to be okay with all the things that are happening? I need you to help me calm down with those worries and remind me what I'm here for. Lord, there are people, young and old today, according to your word, that potentially might be wasting their lives right now. And they're running after the kingdom things, everything but yours. And they're running toward their own.